everyone out there. We have an exciting guest today, Erle Dardick, founder of Monkey Group. So we're super excited to sit here and chat with you. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So one, congratulations on being acquired from EzCater.
Thank you.
That's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for us, for sure.
As any other entrepreneur out there, acquisition or IPO, like those are really big moments in a company's life cycle. And we were chatting last night about your journey of hospitality, right? And it all started at a deli.
It did, yeah.
So it'd be great to kind of hear about that and how you went from a deli to, one of the leaders in catering technology.
Well, it's an interesting experience and story in that I was a deli operator, but I'm an entrepreneur. And the deli, when I bought the deli, was distressed, and it was my sixth business, and it was 23 years ago when I bought the deli. And when I got my hands on the deli and started the process of fixing it, catering became an obvious channel that we needed to build out the back door. I was not a retailer. I was somebody that came from a business-to-business background. I was very comfortable with the idea of building a business out the back door. And so as part of the turnaround strategy for Tony's Deli, I started to use catering as a strategy to fix the economics of the deli. I jumped into Tony's, took the helm. It was my entry into the restaurant and food service space, and really started to just focus on fixing the deli. And at the time, I was using my point of sale system at retail. The catering business started to grow at the back door. And we were taking orders by hand. We had people in the deli. We were talking to them. Hey, Earl, can you deliver? That kind of thing. Sure, we could do that. Saying no is never an option as an entrepreneur. You know that, Nick.
Yeah.
Right. So you're always of course we can do that. You figure out how to do it after.
Absolutely.
So that's been right. That's been my journey. And so in that process, we started to engineer a system outside of the point of sale, which was all manual. It was really like literally taking orders on the phone by hand. We'd go to QuickBooks, we'd make an invoice. We had spreadsheets for figuring out how much we had to prep. Yeah. We were running our deliveries, and to my good fortune, there was a web developer in the mid-90s that was working very quietly in an apartment above the deli doing web-based animation. And that was at a time when the internet was static web pages. Maybe you're too young to remember, I don't even know.
I remember the dial-up of AOL with the little in and...
Yeah, so everybody at that time was running, I got to get a tonysdeli.com, I got to get .com. And nobody really understood why they needed to do it. They just knew that they needed to do it, and it was a branding exercise. And you'd publish a menu, or you'd have a static web page. Yeah. And while that was happening, this web developer and I started working on the back end of Tony's Deli because I was engineering these manual process. And so we started to work on the business logic. And day by day, we chipped away, and catering started to grow, and the deli was busy. And the economics started to improve. All of a sudden, we were starting to make money, and the business started to thrive. There was a lot of synergy between the channels, and a lot of pressure came on the deli, because as today food service operators are learning this, is that the facilities were never designed for this catering business. And so you're layering a channel on top of existing assets, which is really the magic of catering. That's why it's such a profitable business for a lot of these restaurateurs, because it's true incremental revenue. And another solution for your consumers who are loyal to the brand, and so they come back and spend more money with you. Of course, this is all in hindsight. At the time, I was just trying to keep up. And so basically, through that process, I worked on Tony's Deli, fixed the business, built a web-based solution that was basically cloud-based for everything from e-commerce all the way to the back-end invoicing, accounts receivable management, all the production, the distribution. And by 2001, I had a web-based solution that was running my business that was doing about 1.3 million in sales. That was catering, excuse me, and point of sale was running in the front. Yeah. And then 9/11 happened. That was a big year. It was a very, very difficult time for the world. And my catering business that had been growing, took a dive. And that was a very depressing thing as an entrepreneur, when you're building, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, business is gone because the world circumstances shifted. Yeah. I sat in my deli, my head in my hands, going, man, what am I going to do next? And a friend of mine said to me, Earl, you're the most advanced deli in the world. And I'm going, well, what do you mean? He says, well, you have this software. This is where the world's going. He pointed out the opportunity to me, and for me, the software was a work in progress. It never worked perfectly. There was always problems with it.
But that's not you doing it right, right?
Right. It was a constant. I didn't realize that we were developing what would become a world-class solution for and an industry standard. I didn't at the time I wasn't thinking about it.
That's why I think I love hospitality, because restaurateurs and anybody in nightlife or hospitality in general are some of the hardest working people I've met in my life.
Right.
And the innovation, entrepreneurship kind of gets thrown around a lot, and the people that start their own businesses in any industry are entrepreneurs in my mind. And the innovation that comes out of necessity and things you do in restaurants is pretty phenomenal.
It is. There's a lot of good technology coming out in our space that's coming out of restaurant operations.
Yeah.
Typically it's a subset, like there's a piece of the puzzle, but it's really, in my case, it was sort of the end-to-end, the order-to-cash cycle that we call it, for takeout, delivery, and catering. And so I fell into this thing, then started to show other people after 9/11 what we were doing. They got excited. I got a customer. I got 2 customers, and I ended up in the software business. Yeah. Which has been the journey to today.
And how was that transition from? So I grew up making sandwiches. My dad has Belsito's Deli. The transition from making sandwiches to building code.
Well, it was interesting. I wasn't a code guy, so I had a technical team, and we started to build that technical team. So what I was the food service operator. I knew what I wanted in a solution. I was able to say, no, not that, give me that, move this over here, I want to see it this way, here's the report, how I want to look at it. And so really, I think what happened in retrospect was, my perspective on how I wanted to see my business got baked into the software. And that became the secret sauce, because that was what really happened. And I didn't realize this till much later. It was probably 10 years went by.
Yeah. You're not applying technology, an opportunity, and then say, hey, business, do this.
No, it was more, it was the strategy of Tony's Deli got captured in the software.
That's awesome.
And that's what happened. And in the early days in this space, before any online ordering, it was just starting e-commerce, all that stuff. I was trying to sell software into a space that just didn't understand what was going on, or it was so early.
What was that moment, you talked about a little bit, where you said, okay, Tony's Deli, I'm going to transition, that's a hard thing to do, to move on, and then start Monkey Group. Was that a hard decision?
No, it wasn't hard at all. I mean, it just started. What happened was the deli was thriving. It was busy. It dipped off. It's did that little ride for a little while, and then we started to get software customers. And then what happened was, and actually I ended up in bakeries and commissaries first.
Really?
Well, because it's an ERP system.
Yeah.
This is a full-on manufacturing system. So I ended up in bakeries, commissaries, mail order, and so we started to find this little niche market, which was multi-unit restaurant groups that were running retail and multi-unit restaurants. Often they had bakeries or commissaries behind them, or different regions.
Yeah.
They were feeding their stores, and we worked in that genre for a long time. And so we were, it was cowboy development. It was just basically anything anybody wanted, we said yes. But we created an incredible amount of software.
Yeah.
And it was really in 2004 where I realized I had this going now. I'm a starting guy. I like to start things.
Yeah.
And then I had the deli, and it became obvious to me that my passion was deep in this piece of it.
Right.
And I believed that it was working so well for me that it would work for others. I had no preconceptions of what was implementation, what was project management, what was enterprise software integrations. I mean, none of it was even. Had I known, I might have done this totally differently.
Yeah.
But
what would be the one thing that you would possibly do better next time?
Do better next time. That's a tough question to answer. I mean, any business that I've ever done has been, I would love to say there was a master plan of some sort, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing we did really well was we were very customer focused.
Yeah.
So we listened to our customers. And so as long as we're solving for them and they're happy, then the solution was taking its path and organically growing in the right direction.
Yeah.
As from a product perspective. And then the rest of it was really about culture, and so and people, which then the team started to build, and the culture and the vision started to form, and then people started drinking the Kool-Aid, and they started to support the vision, which fed me, and then I became this leader in my company. That people were following me, as if I knew where I was going, but can't say that I really knew. So what would I change? Well, I'm in a different stage in life now. I think. It's hard for me to comment on that because I'm a startup guy. So I'm accustomed to starting things with bootstrap situations and really finding the margin and the method, so you have a profitable model. of course, everybody today is raising capital, and there's so much money pouring in, and, which is the standard process for technology.
Yeah.
But I actually avoided that.
Really?
I did.
So how was your fundraising process?
I didn't have one.
Really?
So this was all done internal through cash flow, family and friends. We kept it very, very close. We had a lot of people over the years come and offer capital. It just wasn't our thing. We decided we were going to do was, we consciously made a decision that we would focus on quality and our customers. We would sacrifice growth, but we wouldn't dilute, and we would eventually build enough value in that process where the plan was to get acquired, which is what happened.
Yeah. Which is really phenomenal on, without taking outside capital from an institutional aspect and building world-class software. That's the leader and innovator in catering space. That's pretty phenomenal.
It is. It's only been 3 weeks, so it's still settling.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal, and I think for me, the real thing for me that feeds me is the feedback that I get from the community. They love our solutions. They love our company. Mo is my partner, and he's amazing, and he's really a team builder. He's built an incredible team of people, and so that is the reflection now, right? I'm able to look back, and there's a legacy that this thing's not going anywhere.
Right.
And now it's exciting because it's really going to accelerate. And if I could predict what's going to happen with my business, which now is owned by EzCater, which is a great company doing a lot of great things with an incredible leadership team and a great vision for what they're doing, the fact that they saw us in their vision was very flattering, and when you get somebody who's wooing you or trying to acquire you in the process, which we can talk more about as well, but that is not an easy process to go through, because it's not just about finances, but it's also directly connected to the emotional aspect of transitioning from this startup, small growth to now what is potentially a world-class and scalable business.
What's next for catering technology?
Well, I think the lines are blurred between it's really moving into channel management. And the industry's not there yet. So right now it's still thinking catering technology versus online ordering versus POS versus loyalty versus marketplace versus back office, and it's all moving into what I think is going to be a number of ecosystems that are going to come together. And there's going to be a lot of small solutions in between. For example, what you're doing, which is a very simple, very narrow thing, but a great value add into that mix. But from order management systems, which is the business that we're in, I think this concept of catering technology is going to change into, what is full-on hospitality solutions.
Right.
And it's very, very possible that the marketplaces are going to be the next solutions companies. And in the historically, it's been, NCR, Oracle, or Micros. But POS has been driving, this sort of the system, the core system that restaurants especially have built their business around. I think we're in a major shift on that now. Yeah.
So a lot of entrepreneurs out there, you mentioned your goal is to be acquired, right? So acquired or IPO or build a world innovation company. What was the thought process, or how did that process come about? Being approached, talking about it amongst your team, the decision-making process. Just talk to that a little bit for other people out there to get a little bit of insight, because you don't really get to get that type of insight.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and let's see, where do I begin that answer? Because ultimately, it's as an entrepreneur, I think ultimately, and this is especially young entrepreneurs, right? Yeah. We talk about young people.
Yeah.
I was a young entrepreneur.
Yeah. And you still are young.
Yeah, well, I am, but I'm not as young as I was when I started. But as a young entrepreneur, when you're just starting and you've got that idea and you've got that vision and you're building and you're staying on that vision. I'm saying the same things today I was saying 20 years ago, but nobody understood what I was like. They weren't listening, or they didn't understand it. They weren't ready to hear. The market wasn't ready. And then, so as you drive forward and you're driving to this, which is very, very difficult, as you know, Nick, right? It's very hard to start and build a business, right? And it's up and down. You have your wins, you get your losses. There's a lot of complexity. It's not just the customers, but it's people. It's financing. It's all of this stuff, right? Government regulation, and then the market's moving.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the experience I was always very focused, always, on really serving food service operators. That's my connection. I'm a food service operator, and so my skill set was directly tied to being able to go into companies and helping them to reframe their strategy and make the decisions and investments they have to make to turn the ship, and then use my technology to support the decisions.
Yeah.
So that was my vision. That was my, and so the application of that was super complex. This was a major change process going into companies, which of course was the birth of the Catering Institute and the school.
Right.
And it's just been this ongoing thing of education and training. So I think ultimately, the experience, wasn't necessarily clear what the end goal was going to be, except what I was doing on the way was I was feeding my own passion the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is I was doing what I love doing.
Yeah. I think that's important too.
Yeah, huge.
You have, as an entrepreneur, with the highs and the lows and the grind, and it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
You have to absolutely love what you're doing.
You do. You really do.
Because I think that's really important.
And you have to really keep believing, even when it's the hardest. The one thing I would recommend to young entrepreneurs is that at the time when it's hardest to believe is the time when you need to believe more.
Yeah.
Or the time when you need to love your business is the time when you hate it.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're hating it, which I had so many days like that, man, I can't do this anymore. That's the time when you need to work hardest to love it.
Yeah.
And that is, that's what keeps the whole thing burning and alive. So, and then over time, as people, took the story and it became their passion, and then it was the relationships. It was really like even the customers. Today, I come to the Restaurant Leadership Conference, and I have many friends that I've made over the years, and that stuff is special. They can trust me. We trust each other. We've done business together. We've made money together. We've had problems together. We fixed problems together.
Yeah.
Which I think is what establishes you as a community person. Which is people can look to you as you build that trust, and then your integrity sets in and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it gets easier as you go a little bit that way.
Yeah. I think relationships are important, especially in hospitality. That's why I love the industry.
Yeah, it's a great industry.
And it's pretty phenomenal. 2 final questions.
Yeah.
The pin.
The pin.
Tell me about the pin. I love it.
This pin.
Yes.
I was wrong. Mo was right. Because he wanted to do pins. I said, pins. He wants pins. He printed the pins. Everybody wants the pins.
Yeah, the pins are awesome.
Yeah.
I want a pin.
You can get a pin.
I love it.
Well, no problem.
I love it.
So this
awesome.
is, this is our logo and monkey, and this was actually interesting. In the early days, people said, "Oh, Earl, the name's stupid." What's this name? Monkey, Monkey Media.
Yeah.
And I said, "Look, the work we're doing is very serious. It's very intense. There's a lot of intensity. This keeps it fun." And
I like that.
we were able to have a lot of fun with the logo. In the early days at the NRA, we were handing out bananas, and things. There was so many things we could do. Yeah. It was like for a while we were like, who put the K in money? That was a big joke for a long time. Monkey, right? It was like, who put the K in money?
Ah, I like that.
So that was for a long time. We kind of rode that one. So over the years, we've put, we've used it and had a lot of fun with it, and that has offset a lot of the stress.
Yeah.
And the seriousness of what we've been doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Final question.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a hard one.
Yeah.
Favorite sandwich from Tony's?
Turkey pesto.
Wow, that's quick.
It's easy.
I like it.
Turkey pesto. That was our one of my favorites. I sold Tony's in 2004.
Yeah.
And then the new owner came in, and eventually it just disappeared. But
yeah.
It's captured now in this legacy,
Yeah.
So
turkey pesto.
Yeah.
I like a good turkey pesto.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is
good.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Good.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I appreciate
Thanks,
taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.